Yes, welcome again to my show. Today I have the great writers and great journalist. She's very famous here in Nigeria. She's my master. She's my teacher. She's Molara Wood. Welcome, my dear.
Thank you so much, Salma. It's wonderful to be here on your platform, on your show. It's such a great honor, and I'm happy to be here to have the discussion with you.
It's really my pleasure to meet you. Yeah. You are one of the very famous writers here. So please tell me about your beginning.
How I started? Well, yes. Very famous. Well, it's relative. Some people are much more famous, but I am known to a certain extent. How did I start in the journey of writing? I think it started really from childhood, telling stories, listening to stories, but reading a lot. Reading a lot, and that begins to train your ear to dialogue, to how stories work, the structures of a story, etc., etc. And then you continue, you develop this inner sensibility to be able to look at your society, to see with a certain eye. Yeah. And then one day you start to write. And even when you start to write, it takes a while before you come to that realization that actually I am a writer. You are a writer. Yes. So it's a journey.
And you have a collection of short stories named Indigo. I think you can tell more about this short story collection.
Yes. Indigo has been published now. We're in 2025 now. Indigo was published in 2013. So it's already like 12 years old. Yeah. And it's a collection of stories that I wrote really from roughly 2005, 2006 up until 2010. Yeah. Yes. So the title story itself, which is Indigo, was written in 2010. So these are stories written over a number of years. It's also perhaps significant to say that they were written when I was still living in the UK. Yes. Okay. So with the exception of one, all the stories were written when I was still in the UK. So they're really stories of me commenting on immigrant life in the UK yes. for my generation of people, and also writing back really with about memories of Nigeria, nostalgia, sort of, because there are a number of stories here that are set in Nigeria, a number of stories that are set in London. Some are set in maybe a magical, unknown, unnamed place. Yes. So that's how they were just written piecemeal over a number of years. And then in the end, I had quite a good number of stories. And the time came to think we should put these in a collection, and then which are the ones that will flow together and work together and hang well together. And these are the ones we chose. There are 17 short stories here. You've read some of them. Some are very, very short.
Because I wanted to ask you about Free Rice.
Okay, Free Rice. Free Rice. Yes, you've heard me read Free Rice to students here in Iseyin. Yes. And you've read it also. And you've heard some of the discussions around it. It's interesting because Free Rice was inspired by something I heard when I was a child. Yes. About somebody that fell into a river, a load carrier, and people were trying to save him. And he kept saying, "Save the rice, don't save me." And it was just a funny story I heard when I was young. Of course, they saved him. But in fiction, as you know, as a writer yourself, you know, in fiction, sometimes we get to tell a different story. We get to take something in a different direction in order to make meaning of human existence, of our lives. So many, many years later in London, I thought about that story, and I started to wonder what makes somebody value rice more than his own life. Yes. And that's why I wrote the story back then. And it was originally published in a journal in America. It is Per Contra. It was originally published in Per Contra. And it's also connected to a longer story also here in Indigo. And but coming back to Nigeria, I've lived in Nigeria over 15 years now. Yes. And rice remains at the center of life in Nigeria. Life remains at the center of life in Nigeria. Rice remains part of the political discourse. If there's inflation, it affects rice. Rice is just at the heart of the Nigerian culinary psyche, if I can put it that way. And you realize that a little story under 700 words that I wrote all those years ago still has resonance. And I'm really humbled to realize that. And I have met one or two people who will say, oh, that's my favorite in the collection. Other people have other favorites.
Yes,
but,
of course.
Yes. So I'm humbled by the fact that Free Rice is able to be a commentary on society, even after nearly 20 years after I wrote it.
Yes. You travel to different places in the world, so that make you see different cultures. How they affected on you as a writer?
It allows you to see, to be able to see from different perspectives.
Yes.
It allows you to see from different perspectives. You see the great things about other society, how other people live. It allows you to see what may be better in those societies, and you're able to have a kind of comparative lens from which to look at your own society, how things are done elsewhere, what are the wonderful things about here, what can we do better here. And travel also makes you a kind of perpetual outsider, even in your own society. And I think as a writer, sometimes having the outsider's eye is very helpful, because you're able to see what sometimes other people don't see. You're able to think critically about what other people may just not pay attention to or take to be normal. And it's really informed how I live in Nigeria. And, travel civilizes you. You also come across other people's stories. You see our commonalities as human beings. You see the differences, food, modes of behavior, societal norms. I feel all of this is very enriching. Travel is always to be recommended, especially to a writer. And travel also colors your writing.
Yes.
So I think travel is wonderful, and I travel at every opportunity that I have, and I've been blessed to have been able to go to a number of places.
I think you go to many residencies before, so maybe you can tell me about this experience.
Yes, residencies I recommend highly. Some are better than others,
of course.
But in general, residencies are great, because without a residency, I probably would never have met you.
Yes, really.
We've met, we've had a lot of discussions, we've been there when things have been wonderful, when things have been a bit challenging. So the ability of a residency to not only give you the space and the calming environment in which to think and write, because you write, you're not worried about what will Robert eat for breakfast. You're not worried about that, because you're in a place, it's like a creation of an idyllic space for a writer, where you are only with your muse and your ideas and to write. So that's great. But then also this ability to live in community with other writers. It's so enriching, because writing is a very, very lonely endeavor. You sit at your desk sometimes, and sometimes what is going on in your head, you can never fully be able to explain to another human being. So it's very lonely. Sometimes in one's local environment where you normally live, sometimes people don't understand what you do. Like, writing, what the hell is that? But when you're with other writers, you are actually coming to a situation where you have a meeting of minds, and people understand. Nobody is wondering, writing, what is that for? And the cross-pollination of ideas, to be able to talk, and you talk to me, and we talk to others, and I think it's so very enriching. And it also charges the imagination. It helps you to refine your ideas, and you also see how other writers work. You can learn from them, they can learn from you. So I recommend it highly. And the fact that it nearly always necessitates you traveling to a place you would not ordinarily live. So you get to immerse in the local environment, the local culture, the people.
And let me ask you other questions about your journalist journey. How you started and what you're doing.
Yes, some people know me more as a journalist. I've certainly written more as a journalist than as a fiction writer. I started writing in newspapers in the early 2000s, writing in newspapers here in Nigeria. And then I had an arts column, even when I was still in the UK.
Yes.
I had an arts column in a major newspaper here, the Sunday Guardian, the Guardian on Sunday, which is based in Lagos. And these were the days before social media, before the internet exploded in the way that we have it now. And thousands of people used to read that column.
Yes.
And the column also allowed me to live a very arty African life in London.
Okay.
Like, for instance, last week, the great African American musician Roy Ayers passed away. And I was here. I'm not currently at home, so I don't have access to some of my papers.
Yes.
But to think that I saw him live at the Jazz Cafe in Camden in London, maybe around 2004, and I wrote about it for the Sunday Guardian here. And when we got to meet him at the end, he, gave me a peck on the cheek, and I was so, I wrote that in the article. And to think you get to meet such great people. And since then, I've written for so many publications, journals, books, chapters in some books. I've been editor at newspaper, arts and culture editor. It's just gone on and on. And I've been blessed to also be able to have a specialization in the sense that I write about the arts. I write about culture, festival, and it's not far away from what we're doing even as fiction writers. So that's mainly what visual art, writers. I write about writers, I write about musicians, I write about the local environment. I'm able to live the life that I feel is meaningful to me. Sometimes if I want to write about the importance of trees, we're sitting under a tree here, the importance of trees, and I get the opportunity to enlighten people.
Yes.
And to raise important, sometimes you don't enlighten, sometimes you just raise important questions. You just raise important questions that gets people thinking. Don't cut that tree. That tree is important. Okay, if the tree is too big or there are some things on it, what can you do to counter that in a way that does not destroy the environment? So I remained very much a journalist. I'm also an editor. I edit fiction, I edit non-fiction. So yes, I just work with words, really.
Let me ask you another questions about prices, writing prices. What the criteria for that, or what the standard?
Yes. I think primarily it's important that when we write, we want to write to get the writing to be as good as possible.
Yes.
Prizes are a secondary kudos, like a clap for somebody. And sometimes who wins the prize also depends on other things, such as the taste of the judging panel, or such as the theme of the competition or the award. Sometimes it's about, the larger discourse in society or the larger discourse in the international space of ideas, whether it be African ideas, whether it be literature, whether it be immigration, whether it be the nature of governments. It all depends on, this larger atmosphere and sometimes what kind of stories people think are important in this moment. But for me, when I have served on the juries of literary prizes, you don't dismiss these other considerations, but primarily the story, how the story works, how the story speaks, and not just to the moment, but I think a story should have an enduring life. A story should have an enduring life. We're just talking about Free Rice. I'm not saying it's the most enduring story out there, but the fact that we can read that story nearly 20 years later, and school students were able to have an entry point into the story. That already gives me some kind of assurance that this is perhaps a story that might endure. So how the story speaks and what it says about the condition of we as human beings in the time, and also the commitment of the writer. When all of these things can come through in the story, and if the story is well written, then I will be persuaded to think, well, maybe this could win the prize, or could be on the short list, could be highly commended in some way, because it's not also just about the winner. Yes. Sometimes you have 10 very good stories, but somehow a winner has to emerge. Yes.
My dear, you are a Nigerian writers, so let's talk about the role of the woman in the literatures here.
The role of the woman in Nigerian writing. Well, I think it's unmissable in these times that Nigerian women are really making great strides in the literary space all around the world, globally, not just in Nigeria, not just in Africa, because we have so many important writers that have broken through and are having readers internationally, readers here in Nigeria, readers all over the world, and whereas once upon a time, I can contrast that to once upon a time, say in the early 2000s or the 90s, or the very late 80s, in a place like London. If I wanted to buy a book by a black writer, let alone a woman, I would have to go to very, very specific bookshops in London. I'd have to travel far. You would not find them. Most of the time, you would not find them in mainstream bookshops. But now Nigerian writers are in mainstream bookshops, and most of them are women. You know, so, and this has also meant, so Nigerian women writing has really, really exploded. And we're also having a lot of younger and younger writers coming through. People are writing more and more. And this also means that a lot of issues that concern, or ideas that concern the woman and the place of the woman in society. A lot of those are also now being treated in literature. A lot of stories told from the woman's point of view, woman's perspective. And some men write women characters very well, but it's not common. A lot of books, say, when I was young, even great books written by men were written from a male-centered perspective, and the women characters were just peripheral to that. But now there's a turning of the table. It's really exciting, it's really exciting. It means that more about the woman's condition, the woman's psyche. What does the woman think is important? The strengths and also the frailties. By frailties, I mean the not so strong aspects of the woman, because we're complex. We're not just one thing. We're not just angels. We're not just devils. We're not just Jezebels. We are a multiplicity of things, and that multiplicity. We're a package. We are a package. Excellent. Sorry. Excellent. We're a package, and that full package is coming through in the stories, and it's great. And I also see this reflected in writing spaces all around Africa. You know, I mean, the Nigerians may be in the lead, sort of, maybe. But a lot of writing is coming through from on the continent, and also our writers who are in the diaspora, because we have a lot of writers in America. So we're in discourse across at one another, and it's really vibrant and it's really great. It means that the woman's voice is stronger in society.
It starts stronger. My dear, that's leading me to the last questions about give me or any writers who want to start this road to be a writers, great writers.
Okay.
What the advice you can tell?
Advice?
Yes.
You will recall that at the beginning of this conversation, I talked about how I used to read a lot when I was young. So I think a writer has to read a lot. when we visited the school, you saw that I mentioned to the students that don't just, yes, you need to read for your exams and you need to pass your exams, but also read for your soul.
Yes.
Read for pleasure.
Yes.
Learn to love the feeling, the flow of words, what words do to you, what you do to words. Learn to
take time when you are reading.
Yes. So number one advice is that writers, would-be writers should be great readers. And in reading, when you read a lot, you're already in a kind of, how shall we put it? A kind of training.
Okay.
For even unconsciously, you get to see how those writers did it.
Yes.
You get to imbibe some of those strategies, some of those means of doing things. Yes. You have to read a lot, and just take just write regularly. Seek when you can the company of other writers.
Yes.
Be where ideas about writing are being discussed, because you will also feel less alone as a writer in the world.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
you build your craft as you go along.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's really, I'm grateful to meet you here, Molara Wood. It's my pleasure, really. And all this journey, if I just meet you, that's really my honor. So thank you for the talking, for the time.
I'm
for
humbled.
everything.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the conversation, for the interview. I'm really grateful and honored to be able to do this. And now that we've met, we are a community. We're part of the community forever.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Salma.
Thank you.